DDG episode 204. My name is Dave, and I'm joined by Michael.
How's it going, Dave? Did you learn the lyrics to the Kingdom Hearts song like you were supposed to?
Sure.
You did. Okay, good. I'm not going to test you. I'm going to believe you. I have faith in you.
I did see that game was on sale, or something. I was like, there's some sale that Wario was talking about Kingdom Hearts this week.
Most likely, he was talking about the pre-orders for the Sora amiibos.
I feel like there was something else, or Epic had it on sale or something like that.
Okay, yeah, because for the most part, it's all a bit about that Sora amiibo. And let me tell you, I have some friends that are like, I can't wait for that amiibo to go live. I'm going to get that pre-order. And I'm like, cool, here are the tools you need to get that pre-order, which is usually just follow Wario, cheap-ass gamer, and maybe 2 or 3 amiibo alert Twitter accounts. And none of these sons of bitches were able to get their pre-orders in for it. And luckily they have me, because I got 5 fucking pre-orders in. And I'm going to give them these
with the handler fee.
No, I'm going to do face value.
Okay.
I could, because the amiibo market is so stupid, make a killing financially. But because I'm a good person,
I saw it available later, or a couple days later though. Still, I feel
it was still going in and out of stock crazy.
I didn't get any text message from you or Discord message from you.
I didn't need
you,
because I got 5.
Yeah, I was like, all right, you must be, because Angela saw it, and I'm like, I don't know, just grab it, and if Michael doesn't want it, we'll cancel it or whatever. And I think she went to go do it, and she's like, oh, he tweeted, he got it, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I ended up getting some pre-orders from 2 different websites, just because I was like, I fucked up and I did a pre-order for 2 for one website, and I was like, what if they cancel it? Because what if they just didn't put that there's a limit of 1? So then I got 2 from another website because I broke that first rule. And then at a certain point, I realized all my friends failed at pre-ordering Soras. So now I've my army of Soras will be depleted after day 1. I was looking forward to having several different Soras just come into my mail, but now I'm gonna have to give them all away to people at face value plus tax. But yeah, I got my Sora pre-ordered. Looking forward to it.
When does that come out?
February 16th, I believe.
Yeah, February.
And I don't I wanted 2, 1 to take out of the box, 1 to keep in the box, because I'm a weirdo. Yeah. And now I'm just gonna have 1, and then the other ones I'm gonna have to find homes for, because people can't fucking use the internet.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess positive is if you can't find a home for it, you could totally flip it.
I could, if I didn't already just promise,
right.
It's just be like, hey, I'm gonna give you this Sora for face value, and you must cherish it and hold it for the rest of your life. If I find out that you flip this Sora, I'm gonna be very upset.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a highlight of my week, Dave, is getting some Sora amiibos. I don't even fucking play Smash. I dislike Kingdom Hearts.
Owen discovered amiibos. He's always known about them, but he kind of discovered them mainly with Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. So I had a couple that I think were given to me. And then I'm as most of you know, I'm just a big Zelda nerd. So for the most part, I got a lot of the amiibos just to have them. In terms of a collectible thing, and for them, because I think they look cool, the bird from Skyward Sword, it looks cool, and Link and Zelda and Ganon. I just think they the detail on the amiibos themselves is cool. But then Owen found out that you can get cosmetic stuff in Tears of the Kingdom with them, and they all got opened.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I'm kind of excited for Sora to come out, is this to see what he might be able to unlock in some random games, because Nintendo's really good at having them do something. Yeah, because I only own 2 right now. I own Sephiroth and I own Majora's Mask Link. Those are the only 2 I have. They're still in the box because they actually look nice in the packaging. So it's not just because I'm going to resell them. It's just they actually look really nice.
They stand up. They can move around easily. You don't have to worry about them falling over. They're protected.
Cleaning the dust is so much easier when it's a square as opposed to the little details. But yeah, the Sora one I'm excited for, and because I have a big Kingdom Hearts collection, or me and Sarah have a Kingdom Hearts collection, I should say, because most of it's her Kingdom Hearts stuff. But yeah, Dave, that was my week. That is as excited as I was for video games this week, even though there was a Game Awards that happened. We'll talk about later.
Yep. So on that note, if you're still listening after this little ramble, so we are Digital Days Gaming. We're a weekly podcast that posts Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time on podcast services. If you could leave us a review, that is always helpful. A review with words is even more helpful, so more people can discover the show and it can move up and down the algorithms. We also live stream on Twitch and YouTube, twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming, youtube.com/Digital Days Gaming. Both of those you can subscribe or follow for free. You can subscribe on YouTube for free. You can follow on Twitch for free. We are a Twitch affiliate, so you can subscribe on Twitch for like $5 a month, $5.99 a month, I believe it is. Or if you link your Twitch account and your Amazon Prime account, you get Prime Gaming and you get a free subscription to a streamer of your choice that does not auto renew. So please consider just checking that every once in a while to make sure you're subscribed. As an example, mine expires in 2 days here. So and typically I'll remember to auto renew it like during the show or when I'm down here streaming or something. So. But yeah, following on Twitch and subscribing on YouTube are both free. And then just leaving comments or like however you listen to the show, anything that you can do to help share that is helpful. Everything else is linked in the show notes. Our Discord is linked in the show notes. Facebook group is there. And just a link to our website that has more directions for prior episodes or other ways that you can contact us if necessary. So you can check all that out at digitaldaysgaming.com. And we're going to jump right into the news.
Yeah, so this one's going to be brief. It's one of those things that we knew was coming. E3 is dead, Dave. This was a story that the ESA just kind of just tweeted out 2 sentences saying goodbye to E3. Not much detail was given other than saying goodbye, thanks for the memories. Very cold goodbye from the ESA after, 3 years of trying to get E3 off the ground again after the pandemic happened. The industry seemed more saddened by that than the actual company that runs it. So yeah, E3 is no more. And I guess now we wait for Keeley's next move.
Yeah,
Dave,
I don't think it's a big
can't be
surprise.
surprised,
Yeah, I
right?
was gonna say I don't think it's a big surprise. I think it was kind of one of those things where, as corny as it sounds, like when you say something like "this is the way we've always done it" is like one of the most dangerous phrases in any kind of business or development or any kind of thing. Like, oh, we've just like we're gonna do that again. Why? Because we've always done it, and that's how we always do it. And I think their lack of evolving hurt them over time. The pandemic just it tremendously sped up their lack of evolving,
Mhm.
and then it also forced developers to evolve faster than they intended to because they had no choice. And then what the developers and the publishers saw in terms of the return on investment side was substantially better than doing anything in Los Angeles. And I think that's the bottom line. They get to dictate their own cadence. They get to dictate what they show, when they show, how they show, and they don't have to deal with the public. Or do you have a press badge? Do you not have a press badge? Do we set up a big booth? Do we not set up a big booth? Do we go behind closed doors? Do we go upstairs? Do we go downstairs? Do we go on the show floor? Like do we do offsite? Like there were so many moving parts and pieces that I think that once it was quote unquote taken away from them, E3 was taken away for a year because of the pandemic. They realized they didn't need it.
And the writing was on the wall like years before that too.
Right.
Like Nintendo launched an entire console without E3 in terms of like no presentations. They still had like space, but like it varied year to year and
Their
how much
treehouse
effort.
thing was a joke, man. Not a joke,
Yeah,
but it didn't. It was like Smash or Mario or Luigi's Mansion. It was just like Nintendo was there, and it was one thing.
yeah. I think there might have been 1 year where like they had a Zelda game and Odyssey around the same time, and
Yeah.
there was like 2 things there. But otherwise, you're right. It was like one thing was like the theme of the whole booth. But I think the press conferences was the thing that was a reason for big companies or mid-sized companies to do E3.
Mm-hmm.
And soon as Nintendo showed back in like 2016,
17, yeah,
something like that.
The Nintendo Directs. Yep.
Yeah, they didn't need it. That started to show companies, like you didn't need to be associated with E3. I mean, Devolver kind of made a joke about being like, "Hey, we're just across the street doing our own shit,"
Mm-hmm.
For a while, and then like when PlayStation pulled out in 2018, basically, that was kind of the writing on the wall. And then the you to your point, the pandemic just showed the smaller companies then like,
Mhm.
hey, you really don't need this anymore. And the ESA just kind of rested on like their past in terms of like, no, you need us because we've always been here.
Mhm.
And quickly they found out like that was not the case. I still don't think the industry has found like a perfect replacement
No.
in terms of how many like live shows there are randomly throughout the summer and how long some of those shows can be.
Mhm.
But it still beats the hell out of, you know,
Uh,
having to dig around E3 to find that hidden gem
I
or
think there's a place for the press conferences to still happen. I just think the unfortunate part is it hurts, like you mentioned, it hurts the smaller developers. Because the thing that, as soon as you were talking about it, the thing that like sprung to mind for me was Call of Duty's done it. Activision for a long time had done it very well. Destiny 2's reveal. So Destiny's 2 reveal was a like a 36-hour event where
Mhm.
they had a press conference and then after the press conference I was able to do interviews and play the game and check out some things, and then I left like the next day. And again, it was coming off the heels of Destiny and the speed that they were doing with Destiny 2. They've done it with Call of Duty. They've done they still do it. Blizzard does it with BlizzCon, which is like a 2-day event or like a weekend event. I think that you're going to see a little bit more of something like that along those lines. And if somebody can find a way to do, this is the wrong term, but an IndieCon weekend, um,
which is
where
what PAX kind of was
right, but I
for a
think there
while.
needs to be like a press conference setup to where like you come and you get to like what was it? The PlayStation Experience, the similar
Yeah.
system, like something at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, 2 hour press conference, and hey, everything we just showed and talked about is playable on the floor. Now, whether you want to open that to the public or fly press out, you want to do it in Vegas, in Kansas City, in Miami, in Atlanta, in Washington, wherever you want to do it, Chicago, like wherever you want to do it, like you can do that live streaming on Twitch, live streaming on YouTube. And if somebody can figure it out, and I don't know who, with the consolidation we're seeing with the gaming industry, it's going to be fewer and far between, because it used to be like THQ could show something for a little bit, and some of these other, like where like Sea of Stars developers, Sabotage, would be there and they would show these things, but they're with Devolver now. And so it's kind of just in this weird flux of where we have a lot of developers and a lot of studios, but if you really start to funnel it down, like after you start listing off Devolver and Microsoft and Sony and Ubisoft and EA, like you're not like the little scragglers aren't. They're fewer and farther between than they were 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I think the consolidation of the industry, as bad as that may be in the future, like we're at the point where PlayStation could put on a hell of a long press conference with all
Mm-hmm.
their studios. Xbox can put on a whole weekend with
Yeah.
all their studios. So the
Ubisoft could too if they had but the spread out to, like, Ubisoft owns like whatever
Mhm.
15 studios, and ultimately if you're talking about 3 maybe studios a year every 2 years, so like then like so now and then they're on a 5-year cadence, and 3 times 5 is 15. So like what do you show? Like you do it in 2000, you do it in 2025 and you show 6 games off, you just knocked out 85% of your studios that are releasing something in the next 3 years. so,
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that the ESA was supposed to do, and that was basically like, hey, the ESA is like a set of a bunch of different companies coming together and putting on a thing. That's why when you look at the board of the ESA, it's like, so here's someone from Activision, here's someone from Xbox, here's someone from this company. And it sounds like we're at the point where we probably just kind of need another one of those to come up, which could be an EA reaching out to an Ubisoft and
mhm.
reaching out to Warner Brothers of like, hey, let's just do a press conference weekend. Like we don't have to do it together, but like we can like work next to each other in terms of
Yeah.
like we'll do something Saturday, you do something Sunday,
Yeah.
and we'll just do our announcements that way. Just kind of like how the indie developers have like the Wholesome Direct,
Yeah.
and there's a couple other indie showcases that they're a bunch of those independent studios just got together and like let's
Yeah.
just work together for this event,
It's
and
just
we
gonna
could see that coming.
it's just gonna take 1 or 2 studios to decide to do it. Like I don't know, like September, like I just throw a date out there, September 10th. All of a
Mhm.
sudden, Sony decides they want to have an announcement. They tell us 2 months beforehand. Ubisoft goes, "Hey, we need to, capitalize on this. Like we don't really need to announce anything at the Sony thing, but Sony's going Saturday at 10. Let's go Saturday at 4." And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
they announce 6 weeks before this event they're going Saturday at 4. Microsoft's like, well, damn, okay, let's go Sunday. Well,
Well,
and then all of a sudden you have a busy weekend like you talked about, like, and that's sort of like the evolution of what happened. What I feel like from the outside looking in, what kind of happened over time with E3 was like Sony had Mondays, Xbox had Sundays, and then Bethesda threw a Saturday in there, and then somebody would go after
yeah.
Sony. They would kind of, but nobody ever stepped on and nobody, like Microsoft never went at the same time Sony did. Like they respected each other, and they still
Well,
do.
yeah, the ESA did book everything out. So like they would police that.
Even the offsite venues, like press conferences.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because ESA again is like made up of like reps from each of the companies.
Oh, okay.
So they did work that way so they wouldn't step on anyone's toes. Though they did, like say like, hey, no one's fucking with PlayStation's spot, no one's messing with Nintendo's spot or Microsoft's spot, and then they would just fill in everyone in between. The only ones that weren't included in that were like the Devolver Digital sort of thing because they lived in their own thing. But if you were a big enough company and you had a seat on that board, they would just organize that themselves. Now we're at a spot where you're going to want some sort of company to police it again, and that's when you're like, hey, ESA, that's what you were supposed to be doing. Now it's going to be on Keighley to do it, and Keighley definitely seems up to the task, but Keighley has a lot of things he needs to work on in terms of like how the Game Awards works, how the previous Summer Games Fest have
he
worked.
Needs to just hire somebody to handle it.
Kinda. It seems like I know he has a team, but it seems like a lot of it's on him, and he keeps making like the same mistakes over and over again.
He needs to find somebody that's respected as a face of the gaming industry. He's respected as a face of the game industry, 100%.
Yes. Yeah.
But he needs to find another person that's respected as a face of the game industry. Like, and I'll just, a broad example, like whether it's like a Greg Miller or something like that, to where somebody that can hold a presence and come out and announce like what they're doing. Because Keighley's okay, but he's not I don't feel like he's the best, like what I would call like hype man. Like he's a presenter, like he does well, but he doesn't have as much personality as I personally would like to see.
And that's the thing that's kind of hard is, it's like I like Greg Miller and respect Greg Miller, but it's one of those things where
he's
sometimes
over the
his
top.
energy can be too up there. So they have to find a balance.
Yeah, I just used him as an example. Like
that's what I'm saying. Is like they finding someone to work is going to be difficult, but it could be one of those things where he goes to Kind of Funny and goes to another company and is just like, what if we all just work together, and then you can have a bunch of different personalities to go.
Yeah, because it used to be the personalities of IGN. You could mix them all in there. Like they had some awesome on air face personalities that did a bunch of stuff, like hosted things, and and we've seen fantastic hosts of like whether even if it's a celebrity that you find out that really likes gaming. Like I don't even know, like there could be 100 people that I'm not even thinking about, but there just needs to be some kind of bridge, and we're probably 5 years away from that. Like it's gonna everything's gonna have to settle out again, and then somebody's gonna have to be like, you know what, I missed this, and they're gonna try to do it.
Yeah, and I have a feeling we'll probably hear from Keighley come around January and February, talking about what he plans to do for Summer Game Fest, and that's probably when we're gonna get like. We're going to see what potential competition from the ESA is going to do to Keighley's plans. Either it's going to have him relax, or it's going to have him like just want to double down and just go for it. Because like especially Summer Game Fest the last 2 years, it definitely seemed like Keighley had a vendetta, against the ESA, and also potentially, are they going to be back and we got to crush them? So.
Yeah. Because I'll still say it. I mean, I nothing will, in my opinion, will ever replace hands-on playing or one-on-one time with devs. Nothing.
Yeah.
And how you get that in 2025, 2024, I don't know.
Which Summer Games Fest did like a step where there was a Summer Game Fest day.
Yeah.
But because it was a small event, I believe it was only a day. So it was one of those things where you didn't really get the time, and it was very specific people that were there. It didn't seem as open as E3's, but E3 was so big that you could do game demos in the cafeteria or the parking lot, which I've definitely done a couple where it's like meet this guy by the garbage cans in the front. They're gonna have a Vita because they're they couldn't get into E3, but they're in the area because they know people are in the area. So I've definitely have played like a Vita game next to a garbage can. And giving impressions on it. So E3's dead. Long live Summer Game Fest. We'll see what happens there. Keely, give us an invite if you do Summer Games Fest again. You're not listening. So we have our Circana, aka
Sure.
the
Yeah.
NPD numbers for November. I'm sorry, Dave. I love going over these
Yeah, it's
numbers.
fine.
They're always kind of fascinating. The NPDs in are for November, and Call of Duty led the month. Surprise! Even though it's one of the worst rated
Yeah.
Call of Duty games.
Yeah, they're so inclined to make this game so much better.
Yeah. Though this might be a big year change going off some of the next couple things I'm going to talk about. Spider-Man 2 is number 2, so down from number 1, which isn't too surprising because of a Call of Duty game. And then this is really surprising. Hogwarts Legacy popped in at number 3 again.
It was on sale
number
all
10.
over the place.
Yeah.
All over the place for November.
Yeah, and it was number 10 last month, and it is now number 3. Other notable games: Super Mario Wonder was number 5, and Super Mario RPG was number 7. Hogwarts Legacy is especially notable because it is still the best-selling game of the year, and it is on track because Call of Duty didn't sell as well as it usually does. That Hogwarts Legacy might be the first game since 2009 that isn't a Rockstar Call of Duty game to lead the year in sales, which is just kind of wild. Like, that's how long Call of Duty and like Rockstar have held the NPDs.
And look at what
15
happens
years.
as soon as Microsoft buys somebody. Their game just sells like trash.
I know, it just falls apart for them. But yeah,
that's
Hogwarts
been the
Legacy,
mantra that I've seen online this week. Like, I'm like, they had nothing to do with this.
Yeah, they had nothing to do with it, like the game being shit and the game not selling as well. There's a chance it's still going to squeak by in December and pass Hogwarts, but it sounds like it has a pretty steep hill to climb, especially with Hogwarts finding this resurgence at the end of the year. And it's probably just an easy holiday gift for people. Like, people are going to be like, "You read the books, here's the game."
It's a brand. It's a high-end brand.
Yeah, so Hogwarts Legacy, say what you will about it, it sells. And I know Warner Brothers a couple weeks ago were talking about, like, we're going to do more live service games, but if this ends up beating Call of Duty, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Hogwarts Legacy 2.
It probably already is.
Probably already is, but in terms of, like, is it going to be a live service game, or are they just going to be like, let's just do another single player game? Though I can see them doing like Hogwarts Legacy 2 that has co-op or something. But yeah, nothing too noticeable in like the rest of the chart, like the top 20. There is Miles Morales was number 18, which Miles Morales is going to be like the new
catch-up mechanic though too. But yeah, I agree. But then I also think it's a catch-up mechanic of like you get both. So like maybe somebody played Spider-Man and wasn't versed enough to know who Miles was, and they found out who Miles was, but maybe didn't realize there was a game. And then Spider-Man 2 comes out and they buy Spider-Man 2 and there's more about Miles and they reference stuff they don't understand, and then they go look and be like, oh, there was a Miles Morales game. Like, yeah, it's kind of been front and center. If you buy the remastered, you get Miles with it, don't you?
Miles and you get the remaster.
Right. Okay.
How it works.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that with the success of Spider-Man 2 and well deservedly so. And then I think also like it's one of those nice breath of fresh airs that we've been talking about. People find out it's only an 8 to 12 hour game.
Yeah, no, and it definitely helps with that. And it's just cheap enough now. Like you typically can find it for $20 to $30.
It's fantastic too. It's amazing. It's probably the one I had the most fun with out of all three. Like the most.
Yeah, because it doesn't stay too long. Again, it comes down to like the length and just the visuals were great at the time. So it's hard to go back to a little bit because of all the improvements.
Yeah, I haven't played it since 2. So
yeah.
Do you hold any credence? There was a little bit of discussion on my timeline. Any credence to the PS Portal being number 4 best-selling hardware, or does you just hold that to like a best-selling or the launch month of it?
I hold it to the launch month and also what would have been number 4 anyways.
Like a Steam Deck or a ROG.
But Steam is mostly still sold on Steam, and they don't share those numbers with Circana. And I still think the ROG and the Legion are too niche.
Yeah.
To like.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, like if it cracked the top 3, that's a bigger story. Like
if it beat the Xbox or Switch, then I'd be like, oh shit, this is gonna be a hit.
So I don't
Otherwise,
know.
I
Just
don't see it.
there was some people holding it to some higher, and I'm just like, okay, it's number 4. Like what else? Like I kind of had the same thought you did. I was like, what else is supposed to be 4? And like it
Yeah.
came out in November, and the ROG came out like in July. There's other versions of the ROG coming out. The Steam Deck came out, whatever it came out. Now there's an OLED version of it or whatever. So you know,
Yeah, and also in the charts, God of War Ragnarok hit number 15. Previously, it was number 36. So
okay.
Ragnarok, because of sales, saw a jump. So good month for Sony.
Yeah,
And
you can't even point to the DLC for that because we didn't know about it.
yeah, and I imagine DLC is just gonna like increase people's
Yeah.
interest in Ragnarok again. I'm thinking of reinstalling Ragnarok. I didn't finish Ragnarok, but it's one of those scenes where it's like I love playing like the combat, so the
Yeah.
new mode definitely would get me to re-download again. But yeah, that is the NPDs, which I think I'm just like how Twitter's called X, and I'm gonna still call it
Yeah,
Twitter.
that's
I think
fine.
I'm gonna call this NPDs regardless of what the company's name is, till someone tells me to stop. But we'll move on to the next story, and it is Spider-Man 2 related. Insomniac gave an update on when to expect new features in Spider-Man 2, and kind of bad news depending on how excited you were for some of these features. But New Game Plus, additional accessibility features, day and night options, and mission replays are all slated for an early 2024 release. Players expected this sooner, but Insomniac never really gave
Yeah.
like a timeline for it, so it's not really a delay. But some are speculating that maybe the recent hack and leaks and ransomware at Insomniac might have slowed them down just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dave, I don't know if you saw,
Yeah,
but
I did.
like
Yeah.
Wolverine stuff leaked and employee data stuff leaked
Did they
as
leak? Did
well.
they leak it? Leak it? Or they said they have it?
They showed
They
some
proved
of
that
it
they
to
have it.
prove.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's currently up for auction on like the black market.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone bought it. I don't want to look into it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to like New Game Plus and all that stuff, day and night cycle, just to get into some good photo mode stuff. I know you're done with it. You're probably
Well,
uninstalled, not
Owen, I
download.
have it uninstalled because Owen still
Okay.
messes around with it. I am a little disappointed just because I was hoping that Owen could actually play it over his holiday break.
Mhm.
Because he completed the game 100% on Friendly Neighborhood, like the easiest version, and he keeps asking me about playing the next version, and I would rather have him do that with New Game Plus, where he has all of his stuff, like all of his
Yeah.
abilities and everything like that. But he's like, I want to play now, and I'm like, okay, well, he hasn't, he's moved on to other things because Fortnite Lego is the hotness for him right now. So that came out at a good time personally. But it is a little disappointing. They did initially say like end of the year, which is and now they can't hit that. And ultimately, what it's coming down to, it might be those ransoms or the little cyber attack or the major cyber attack that they had. But let's be real. It's December 13th. Yeah, today's the 13th.
Mhm.
It's Wednesday. Like they're probably working through Friday, and then they're not coming back until after the new year. And they're like, it's not going to be done.
Yeah,
So
and the hacks might have slowed them down a little bit and could have caused it, but ultimately, like if they Insomniac has a track record of being very friendly in terms of no crunching and stuff like
yeah.
that. So
And then saying that I don't remember them saying anything about replayable levels and day night cycles. So that initially they just kind of said New Game Plus is coming. So
yeah,
now that they've actually given more features, which is cool. Like a lot of people, I saw a lot of stuff early on. Like they wanted to go back and play that mission as Venom again, and they couldn't. So hopefully
Mhm.
now they can. So
Yeah, and it's. Do you think so? Sidetrack a little bit, maybe a little bit of a tangent. Uh, New Game Plus seemed to be the thing that PlayStation was into, making sure all their games had like a month or two after release. Like I think Returnal got it, the original Spider-Man got it, God of War got it, Horizon got it. Do you think roguelikes are going to be like the new thing that they try? Because Last of Us is getting it theirs in January, and then God of War just got theirs out of nowhere.
I
Would you be
hope.
into a Spider-Man's
I
roguelike
I mean I
thing?
think that would be fun, but that would automatically remind me of the Mysterio missions, and I hated them.
Yeah, yeah. But if
um,
they can throw a little bit of like story DLC reason to do it, that
yeah,
would be kind of cool.
maybe, but I I don't want it to be in replacement of. I would want it to be in addition to. Like I think New
Mhm.
Game Plus always has a place in games.
No, I think yeah, for sure. But I'm saying, like, do you think this is going to be the new trend where PlayStation's like roguelike? if they can fit it in, they do it because it's just funny. Two of their games are gonna have it.
Yeah, I think that they maybe have discovered like through conversation that it's doable, and if I had to guess, it's fairly easy ish. Like
You know what? It's probably not that it's easy. It's probably affordable
yeah. It's
in
a lot
terms
of
of like,
pre-built assets, pre-built areas. Like I don't expect to be going anywhere new in Ragnarok to fight waves of enemies. I don't
no,
expect to be
I
in any
imagine
new
it's
environment.
sectioning
Last of Us
off.
Part Two
Yeah.
to be facing waves and waves of enemies. So in terms of reusable assets, which everybody hates that term, but I think it's a good use of parts that are already there and just dictating AI.
Yeah, and then especially if you're sectioning off small sections of the game, that is probably super easy to QA in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like, hey, we are only working on this arena.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about anything outside of
Well,
these
and
arenas.
some of them had it. Like, didn't Horizon had something like this, right? Like that battle
They had,
arena, like the stadium that you went into.
yeah,
It was
that
like a
like for
boss rush mode or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that was added after the fact,
Yeah.
and with the DLC for the Winters DLC or whatever
Yeah.
that DLC was. So it seems like something that they looked at. I just like the idea that like Ragnarok got it out of nowhere. You know, we're getting that with The Last of Us. Because originally we speculated like, hey, The Last of Us one feels like, hey, Factions is put on the shelf. What can we do in the
Yeah.
meantime? But then when God of War got it, it's just like, oh, is this going to be a trend? Because
Mm-hmm.
no one was expecting the God of War one.
I'll officially say it's a trend if in January the Spider-Man gets an update and it has something like that. Like
Okay, I could see that. Yeah, and then officially, then it's gonna hit the point where you're just like, okay, so every PlayStation game's
Right.
gotta have this mode, just like we assumed every PlayStation game would have New Game Plus relatively quick.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll move on from there. Dave, Epic Games has defeat Google in court. So Epic Games is having probably one of their better couple of weeks between Fortnite. What was it? The Fortnite throwback thing.
Yeah. Fortnite
And
OG.
also,
Yeah.
yeah, Fortnite OG launching two in-game Fortnite things with Lego and Rocket Racing.
Correct. Yep.
They seem to be doing pretty good in the Fortnite game, but they had their antitrust case against Google, and the judge ruled that Google had an illegal monopoly on their devices with the restrictions forcing developers to use the Google Play Store. Epic Games technically had a similar case against Apple and technically lost that case, but they won something. So you could probably say that case was like a split in terms of like they didn't fully win, but they did get some wins from it. Still don't understand how they kind of lost the case against Apple, but they won a case against Google. But the two companies will meet with the judge in January to kind of negotiate the remedies going forward now that it's been decided that Google was being a monopoly. Dave, we're talking about this because Tim Sweeney, the Epic Games CEO, I believe it's Tim Sweeney, basically was just saying Epic Games is not going to stop until basically they give developers a fair chance, which I'm sorry, he doesn't care about.
Yeah.
Other developers. He cares about his company. But it seems like they're going really hard at trying to break down the restrictions and walls on specific platforms. Do you think Epic Games, after winning against Google, could expand into other territories, say a PlayStation, a Nintendo, or an Xbox?
No, I don't. I think that they'll strike some kind of deals that allow their stuff to be on the platforms. But until they, yeah, I mean they already kind of like with Fortnite. It's already like you go to the PlayStation Store to get Fortnite, you make an Epic account. You go to the Xbox Store to get Fortnite, you make an Epic account.
But you still buy your V-Bucks through PlayStation Store and Xbox Store.
Right, and he hasn't. Nobody's taken Sony or PlayStation or Xbox to court for that. So I don't. I mean, and he's so if you want to talk about the four main platforms that he's five, I guess that he's handling: Nintendo, Xbox, Sony, Google Play, and Apple. Right. He's only got less than 20% win rate
so far. Yeah,
right.
But he hasn't gone against the other three yet. So let me rephrase that. Do you think, depending on, like, again, we haven't got the final ruling in terms of like the ramifications for this, decision. Do you think if it's bad for Google, you could see maybe Xbox, Nintendo, or PlayStation preemptively like
No.
negotiating with Epic, or do you think they just would rather see Epic in court if it comes to it?
I don't think he has any chance because they don't really hold a monopoly on it with all three of them like that. Like it's so different depending on the game.
No, but the reason I would say that is like technically they do have a monopoly on their platform,
Right. But they don't
and
have
that
they don't have a monopoly on a console platform like Google Play had and Apple has. They're 50-50 essentially. You're talking about 36-36-36 between Nintendo
no,
and
no, no,
Xbox.
but that wasn't what they were fighting with. They were strictly fighting with on Android, Google has a monopoly. On iPhone, Apple has a monopoly, and that's their whole lawsuit was.
Yeah,
So
but
technically, they
but
could go against
yeah.
Xbox and say like
The only
way.
the only choices you really have in the phone market is Android systems and Apple systems. You have multiple different choices for gaming. That's all.
No, no, no. But that wasn't what they were suing for. They were suing strictly per platform basis, not saying, like the user can choose different platforms. They were like, on that platform, the user could only
Right, but
use the Google Play
Google and
Store,
Apple weren't willing to negotiate with Epic at all, right? They weren't.
which is why the lawsuit happened
Right, but
individually.
I would be surprised if with as much like his deal, like Tim Sweeney and Epic's deal with PlayStation of the revenue split is probably better than every other person because of because of the users he brings to PlayStation.
But that would have had to been negotiated beforehand. Do you think
Or
if
it's
you're
ongoing. It's ongoing. I think
it's ongoing, but like
yeah.
at a certain point, if you're afraid of things happening or changing,
Sony owns
I
part of
wonder
Epic
if
though.
it's a very small percentage.
It's
like,
100% more than Google and Apple.
Yeah, but it's not enough for them to like.
No, it's not enough for them to
Stop them.
strong arm it, but it's enough that there's a relationship there.
Yeah, which is probably why they negotiated a thing. But if you're
Right.
Sony at a certain point, or you're just like, hey, let's just nail
Well,
down this
I think
contract.
it's yeah. Well, maybe if that becomes the case, but I think it's
Yeah.
like similar to like we talked about before with like Twitch streamers or Mixer streamers or YouTube streamers, where as they evolve, then they reestablish and reevaluate what it is. Like Ninja's contract with Twitch has changed
No, and that's what
multiple
I was
times.
saying.
So
Like if you're those platforms and you see kind of where the market's going on those other individual platforms, maybe you renegotiate, or you just you're a little bit more open to
I
ideas
think
from-
Google told Sweeney, "Screw you. What are you going to do about it?" And he did something about it. That triggered my phone. Sorry. And then I think that when Sweeney was talking to Jim Ryan, like they went out to dinner and they fixed it.
Yeah, and you just have to wonder how long that fix is
Right.
in place, or because of these deals, if you're one of those platform holders that has a current deal with them, that everything's cool, that you're not like, hey, let's extend this deal and make sure everything's going well.
I think we're closer than we are farther from it, but I think we're to a point where you would just open an Epic app on the PlayStation. I think we're getting closer to that.
Which they would then need permission from PlayStation to
Right.
do.
And
Which is-
on Xbox, on Nintendo.
Yeah.
I think
But
we're very
that
close to
is-
like the system that I don't like on PC is all the different game launchers. I think we're getting closer to that on these consoles or on these televisions. Like
But that's what basically sparked the lawsuit against Google in
Right.
terms of like, hey, we don't want to go through the Google Play Store. We want to open our own app.
yeah.
And Google allowed that in terms of like you can put any app you want on an Android phone, but when it came to processing payments, Epic was just like, we want to go around your payment processing. And then that's where the lawsuit came from.
Mhm.
And ultimately, PlayStation's very closed, Xbox is very closed, Nintendo's very closed, more closed than what Google was,
Mhm.
probably on the same level as Apple.
Yeah.
And yet Epic beat Google 50-50 split with Apple in terms of like that case. So you would
And I
think in
think-
theory
yeah, I
they would
think
have an issue with those platforms.
Yeah, except for discs exist on consoles. Like I think that's the caveat though, is like if Epic is producing a game, that they have, like they're producing or publishing a game sometimes. They haven't published one on console yet, but if they ever do publish one on console, they have to print a disc. Like, or
Yeah,
they,
but
they
I-
would
but
need
at
to
their-
print a disc. So
But they're at the point where Fortnite is their platform now. They
I
just
agree.
launched
I was
2
going
new
to talk
games
about that
in
too.
Fortnite.
Yeah. It's like Fortnite's an app.
Yeah. And so that's like the
Yeah, that's why I think that we're closer than we are farther from it, from the
Yeah.
Epic launcher. So
which then would bring in PlayStation to be like, hey, we still need to handle the payment processes, which means we get our cut, whether that's a negotiated
yeah, and there
smaller
is
cut.
something to be said to where like, hey, we provide the operating system, we provide the ability for your game to run, and we provide the controller for your game, and
Yeah.
the box. So,
But
and
that's what Google was already providing, and Epic sued them and won.
yeah, I mean,
So like,
I don't. I just feel it's different. You cannot put a disc in a phone. Like, and I
but
think
your
that's
phone could download different apps, and
yeah.
and Epic still wanted Google to process things through the Android
No, I
store
know.
without taking a cut. So I think we're closer to Epic kind of trying to bully their way around the console manufacturers after a win against Google than anything. Especially like, we'll talk
well,
about
obviously we're closer to a boxless gaming, anyways, to where you like there's gonna be a PlayStation app on my Roku.
Yeah, and that's the thing that PlayStation will probably then bully Roku of like, hey, yeah, our PlayStation app is downloadable from the Roku store, but you can't touch anything in there.
Right.
So like, I don't know. I have a feeling Epic Games could be.
Well,
going
I feel
after
like
the
I feel like I when I purchase something on Vudu, I purchase directly from Vudu, even on Roku.
But because because usually the manufacturer still gets a cut,
yeah,
like regardless, which is.
And I think that will still happen if an Epic launcher goes on PlayStation. They'll have data that says, "Oh, somebody bought Fortnite V-Bucks on a PlayStation
again,
platform. We get 10 cents or whatever it is." Yeah.
Yeah, but that's where the negotiation with Epic would end up taking
That's
place.
still gonna always be a thing. I just like I'm with you. Like I think he's going to try to like I don't want when you go to buy V-Bucks on Fortnite to take you to PSN store. I want it to go to the Epic store. Like that's and
I think that's the fight I'm talking about that could happen.
No, I get you, but there's still be a. It's happening with MLB The Show. Like Sony's still getting money when people buy stubs on MLB The Show on Xbox. Sony's still getting money for that.
But Xbox is getting their 30% cut of all those purchases there. And Epic seems to have a real problem with that when it comes to Apple and Google Play. So in theory, they should have a problem with PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo doing it. Though it sounds like the rate, the cut, those manufacturers is significantly less than where it was on Google and Apple.
It also gets really weird with the fact that they make an engine. Like
and that's what gives them the power.
Yeah, they're in some at the same, but they're in some murky territory because they piss off enough developers, they'll stop using their engine.
Yeah,
but they also have one of the best engines. So
yeah, they have the engine.
Yeah,
the
I get it.
Engine.
They're just in this really weird, murky spot where they need to decide. And they're in a weird spot because if they were doing this 10 years ago, they would just release their own console. They would have.
Yeah, but the thing is though, with like Epic is how they pitch it is they're doing it for the developers, so the developers should be on their side.
Yeah, 10 years ago, we would have had a Fortnite box.
Oh yeah, we would have. The Ouya would have been a Fortnite machine.
Yep.
But we'll move on to the last thing, and that's the Game Awards recap. Yes, it happened last week, but we didn't talk about it. So the Game Awards happened. Two big takeaways is Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3 basically won every award they got to do an acceptance speech, except I think Zelda got to accept the speech.
Show is too fucking long.
They need to
I don't
do
watch
something.
it. I follow it. I follow what you were saying on it, and I followed it on Twitter. I didn't watch it at all.
It is like 4 hours long, and yet
they cut speeches down and all that. Like, they gotta figure something. Okay, ESPN and the ESPYs went through this 15 years ago, where it was just way too long. Like, I'm sorry, like these people deserve all the credit and attention and everything that they're going through and learning, but like they need to pick 10 awards, 12 awards. Spend 10 minutes on each award, and then in the commercial breaks or before the show or after the show, or as like they don't need to go through everyone. And the nominees are like, I'm sorry, like I get it, the best esport athlete, that should just be something.
So they chewed those up in the pre-show.
Okay.
The problem is they did an hour pre-show and then a 3.5 hour regular show.
Yeah.
They only gave away like 6 awards on the main show. It was literally just trailers and ads, and then you had Kojima eating up 10 minutes just to have his Hollywood friends tell him he's super smart.
Yeah.
And you had Anthony Mackie saying Twisted Metal 2 is coming, like the season 2, and then doing crowd work for 5 minutes. You
Yeah.
had a lot of celebrities eating time. You had Gonzo from the Muppets again eating up time, and just advertisement, trailer, which I know were advertisements.
Yeah.
And then you would get celebrity introducing category, where celebrity got 5 minutes to talk, and then the award winner got 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, there's horrible time management on there. And he responded to people after the show, but kind of blamed the production crew.
Same thing. Like we talked about at the beginning
Yeah.
of the show. Like he needs to hire.
He needs to find someone that worked for the Emmys or the Oscars.
Keely's getting to the point now where he needs to not be the face. Like he needs to to hire somebody, and like just like they like I don't even know who it's gonna be. Kevin Butler, I Chris Rock. I don't know.
No. I mean,
like,
he can.
He needs
still
to hire.
Be the
No,
face.
no, I don't. Yeah, he can be the face. Like he can be on at the
He needs
beginning,
someone in the
and he
back.
can be on at the end. But he needs to have a host and somebody that can keep a cadence of a show.
But I don't even think it's his hosting abilities. I think it's his producing abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if he's directing it, but if he is, he needs an actual director that can handle cues. And
this needs to be 90 minutes.
Yeah, it should be 90 minutes to 2 hours, and you need to if they did 4 awards per hour, I think that would be fine.
Yeah,
in a 3-hour show.
I know I said I didn't watch it. I caught the end. Like I caught the very end of it. I don't like that Game of the Year. Boulder. Like I don't care who wins Game of the Year, but Baldur's Gate got to your point 35 seconds of
and they were talking about the death of one of their employees, and then the music cut them off, and it's just
and then the show just ended. It didn't have the one more thing, and then all of a sudden, I look on social media, Boulder Gate's on Xbox. I'm like, what?
Because that was just a random commercial.
Yeah, it's just it's that ending and that flow just didn't flow like a video game press conference has flown. Thanks for watching. There was nothing like that. You knew it was the end. You knew it was the end of the show because it was Game of the Year. But I was like, really, you're not showing a cool trailer of something at the end,
or you're doing this on the internet. You're not on TV.
Yeah,
there's not a movie following this presentation. There's no reason to rush the Game of the Year winner off the stage just to hit credits.
Right, but there wasn't even any credits. It just ended.
Yeah, it just is thank you for watching. But that's what I'm saying. They didn't need the cue credits. There wasn't a TV show or movie following it. They could have went as long as they wanted, and they fucking did. They went 4 hours.
Yeah.
But you couldn't give the Game of the Year winner maybe a minute?
Well, I remember, and you'll know this a little bit better than I will, but, I feel like Monday Night Raw, when it was, in its heyday, in the mid-90s, it never ended at 11 o'clock. Never.
No, they would always do an
11:07, 11:15, and it didn't do any harm. And most of the time it was warranted. I wasn't I was supposed to go to bed at 11. I wasn't turning the TV off until Raw ended. I wasn't. Yeah. No, it was, and nobody ever said anything. My mom and dad would be like, "All right, whatever. It's 11:10. Big deal." I'm like, "Oh, the show went longer." Okay,
Well, the funny thing is now is Monday Night Raw ends at 10 o'clock exactly.
Yeah.
And they found a way to do it to where it always, finishes exactly on time.
And that fits into the script too much for me. And I would be like, look, it's not scripted. It doesn't even end on time. If it was scripted,
but they found a way to make it seem like it makes sense, that it ends perfectly on time. And you're telling me the wrestling companies can do that, but fucking the award show can't? Get the fuck out of here. And that's where I think
that was the big takeaway.
Needs a team around him or something.
That was the big takeaway that I saw from it, was you didn't give the developers enough time for acceptance speeches, and you didn't talk about the layoffs. That's what that was the two things that I saw. The most
hearing that
about.
This was the greatest year for game developers was really hard to hear every 30 minutes to an hour.
When we're up to 10,000 people that were in the gaming industry in 2023 that don't have jobs anymore.
Yeah, you know how many I saw
Hasbro did something today.
I saw Khalif's he did a post vlog, and literally when he was interviewing people afterwards, he's like, "Where do you work at?" And they're like, "I'm unemployed." And they're like, "That happened 3 times in that video." And I'm just like, this is the state of the game industry. And Keely's like, best year ever. And it's for games, yes, but you can't say best year ever for developers.
Right.
But there's so many they had Christopher Judge go out there, and he killed it in his segment for actor of the year. but they let him go off for 5 minutes where he made Call of Duty jokes. He talked
Yeah.
about how he took 8 minutes last
But
year.
then they're
It-
rushing Baldur's Gate that's talking about the sound design and the sound engineer that they lost during
Yeah.
development. Like,
Yeah, yeah, and just the fact that like Christopher Judge jokingly said like, "Hey, I've been assured that the winner of this award can go on as long as they want," and they still cut the person off after like 30 seconds, and
Yeah.
it was just like, it was just kind of wild. But I know most people are just watching for the trailers. I actually want to see the winners. IGN put out a really good article where they actually like let winners put speeches up for their awards that
Mhm.
weren't
well,
like given out.
PS Nation used to do it. We used to like whatever they would send whatever voice
Yeah.
or voice memo they'd send in, however long it was, we played it.
Yeah, we no reason to cut it because again, it was on the internet, just
Right.
like the Game Awards is
You
on the
wanted to
internet.
you
There's
know
no
pause the show,
Right.
move on to something else. Like,
yeah. There was it was so frustrating because there's no excuse for all the shit with the Game Awards this year in terms of that, especially like Dave. There was at least 45 minutes where I didn't see a trailer that I gave a shit about.
mm-hmm.
And
But those
the-
people
the-
pay the bills, man.
They definitely do, but it was one of those scenes where I was just like, I completely just checked out at a certain point, and
Oh, 100%. I should have
Yeah.
like put this on and put up my Christmas tree and just paid attention to the stuff I wanted to pay attention
that's
to.
basically what I did. I
Yeah.
literally was like working on like random shit in
Yeah.
the house. I cleaned
Yeah,
at a certain point because I was just like, this is taking too long.
you were
And I
just
need
you
to
were
do
just
something
listening for
productive.
clapping. Oh, what happened?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Um, let's go over some of the highlights before we wrap up the show. Pony Island 2 from Daniel Mullins is coming in 2025. This is the creator of Inscription.
Okay.
So that looked mind-bending, weird, just like you would expect from a Daniel Mullins game. Exodus is a time-traveling sci-fi game starring Matthew McConaughey. Again, they gave Matthew McConaughey like 10 minutes to fucking talk about his first video game.
straight
And the
cash,
trailer-
homie. Straight cash, homie.
Yeah. And the trailer for the game, I couldn't tell if he was actually in the game. Like,
It's a,
but
it's
it
a
looked-
Randy Moss reference, by the way. Just how do you pay your fine? Straight cash, homie.
but yeah, no, the game looks cool. Dave, I don't know if you saw the trailer for it. I don't think it really made waves outside of like, hey, Matthew McConaughey's here.
I'll have to dig into it a little bit because a time traveling sci-fi game already intrigues me, whether McConaughey's in it or not.
Yeah, it gave like Mass Effect vibes. Like Mass Effect meets Interstellar vibes. We talked about it earlier, but Ragnarok Valhalla, the free roguelite DLC, is out now. Came out the 12th. I haven't had a chance to mess with it, but I'm definitely going to download it. Hellblade 2 had a really good showing. Release date 2024. No exact month, but the amount of footage they showed looks like it's a game that's actually going to come out finally.
You think it's 30 frames?
I can see it getting the performance mode.
That's what I saw.
so I
That's all the shit I saw on Twitter about it was 30 frames.
It's a third-person game. I think you can get away with 30 frames out of third-person games, like typically.
Xbox can only make 30 frames per second game. Like
Apparently, yeah.
I hate
it-
the mantra right now. but
It's the
I hate the
Xbox
mantra
tax.
around frames, just in general. But
Yeah. The Xbox tax, man. But the Hellblade 2 trailer looked fantastic. Again, I think this looks like a real game now at this point, as opposed to what we saw the previous years when we were like, hey, didn't they say this is coming out?
yeah,
It made me realize like they never really fucking showed that game.
yeah.
But did it need like a 5-minute musical performance for a game that isn't out yet at the Game Awards? Probably not, though. It was a cool musical performance.
Straight cash, homie.
Yeah, apparently Xbox said they're going to do things big.
Yeah.
No Rest for the Wicked, a
This looks
top-down
cool,
RPG
so.
from Ori and the Blind Forest developers.
Yeah, this looks cool.
This I felt like you would have been into.
Yeah, I need to watch the trailer again. I
for
think
it.
I watched it that one night, but I was intrigued by it. Yeah.
Yeah, Sega, probably the weirdest trailer of the night. There's Kojima, but probably the weirdest way to introduce games. Sega put out like a live-action trailer that led to actual video game footage for Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, Shinobi, Golden Axe, and Streets of Rage. All games active in development. No idea. Some of these leaked before as possible remasters, some of them as continuations of the franchise. But Sega just being like, we don't have enough footage for full trailers, but we have enough to tease the next like 5 years of Sega.
This is what I hope Xbox does with Activision, like next year.
Right. Just
Just
hey,
4 or
here's
5
everything
things.
we're
Boom,
working
boom,
on.
boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. Like, and then
Yeah.
be like, oh my god,
Yeah.
Like
Like
this is how
take advantage of
this is how you
that.
do it. Like Sega's been sitting on their hands for a little while. We have this new Sega that we've seen the last 2 years, 3 years that has started to do certain things certain ways. Like this is kind of like the epitome of it.
Yeah, this is the perfect way to kind of bring all that out, introduce it to the world, get people excited. I had to watch trailer like 3 times just to like get the clips of the things that I wanted to see, mostly the Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio stuff. We also got no release date on any of that stuff, by the way. We also got the
And none of
casting of
that
Frank.
mattered that it wasn't a release date.
No, exactly. Yeah. The casting of Frank Stone, which is coming in 2024. This is a single player horror game set in a Dead by Daylight universe developed by Supermassive Games, the Until Dawn studio.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Dave aren't the biggest horror fans, but I think we respect the Until Dawn studio anytime they release stuff. And Dead by Daylight is one of those games that you don't realize that it's like got a big following. You know,
yeah.
like if you don't follow, if you're not paying attention, you don't realize how big of a following that games as a service game Dead by Daylight has. So single player
Just go
game.
look at Twitch stats or something like that, and it's just people that watch people play it. And so.
Yeah. We got Visions of Mana in 2024 coming from Square Enix. I love Square is able to just put out these smaller RPGs. I was kind of worried after the talk this year of them being like, we just need to focus on AAA stuff, that we would get Square Enix to move away from these smaller RPGs, but it looks like they're going to continue by also continuing the Mana series. Dave, let's talk about OD. We got we got an actor trailer from it. I guess I'm pretty sure that was rendered characters in the engine. I don't know. But this is the game coming from Kojima and Xbox with either help from Jordan Peele, or Jordan Peele was only there to say, hey, I'm friends with Kojima, because Kojima's really obsessed with Hollywood directors saying that they're friends.
Yeah. I don't care, like, at all.
I like the idea of Kojima making weird shit, and then if you can get Jordan Peele to help him kind of rein shit in,
like this is like Jordan, like this is horror, right? Like this is 100% horror. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is So like I've heard like Jordan. What's the movie that just came out that people were it's like a year ago, wasn't it? Like No Way Out or Way Out. Nope. Okay.
Get Out was his first one.
No, I remember because I watched that trailer and I was like, nope.
But he's great comedic mind, and then turned into a great horror mind.
Yeah.
And the idea that he could help Kojima kind of rein shit in would be great, but I just don't trust that he's actually helping Kojima, and Kojima is just like, hey, I made a friend.
Yeah.
So they showed a trailer where they were just spouting random words that is some code that I'm sure super fans of Kojima have deciphered and figured out what it means. And then they did like a 10-minute thing where they had a translator Keighley asked a translator, like, what is this game? And Kojima found so many words to string together to say absolutely nothing. It was quite impressive how he was able to dance around what this is, other than like it's with Xbox and it's going to use cloud tech, and it is a video game, which they had to reiterate several times that it is a video game. And I think that was just a waste of time. Like, I think that this frustrated me the most, even though I'm interested by the idea, but it just seemed like the biggest waste of time. I'm on your side in terms of like, show me something, like, because your whole thing is like you hate some of these teasers that show nothing. And this definitely was like, you showed me nothing and then you spent 10 minutes to tell me nothing.
Right.
Like, so annoying. But good on Xbox to sign Kojima for a game. RIP their bank book, because this will probably take forever, and the cast is pretty huge, so it's going to be expensive just on casting alone. But yeah, Kojima is with Xbox. I wonder if PlayStation is kind of like, shit, we got Death Stranding. Like, Death Stranding was good and all that stuff, but I'm wondering if they're just like, that Jordan Peele game probably could have been something cool. but don't worry, we got Death Stranding.
Mm-hmm.
We had Jurassic Park Survival, first-person survival game set during the first movie.
I missed this. I need to go look at this trailer.
Yeah, this first like it's a horror game. Like you're literally walking around, basically the aftermath of the movie. So it's basically like, what if someone got left behind and wasn't evacuated after
Okay.
everyone else was evacuated? And you basically are, you're walking through the kitchen, you're walking through like where the jeeps were destroyed, all
Mhm.
that stuff. Looks really cool. Looks super scary. I forget what studio was working on it. I hope it's not an Embracer studio because I think I saw the Saber logo, which immediately puts a red flag in my head of like, will this come out? Next thing, which is probably the biggest thing, which has a lot of questions surrounding it, but Arcane Studios is making a Blade game. So Marvel's Blade.
It is Saber
Uh,
Interactive that's doing Jurassic Park Survival.
Yeah, so it's an Embracer sort
Mhm.
of thing, so which immediately puts a red flag, and I question it. But yeah, so Arcane Studios, Deathloop, Dishonored, they're doing a Blade game. We got a teaser trailer showing Blade. I didn't know it was a Blade game until the very end of it, and I think it was a really cool reveal, super well done, and I'm fully on board with the studio making a Blade game. The thing people are wondering, is this Xbox exclusive? Because Xbox won't say that it's Xbox exclusive. When you think they would brag about it, I have a theory on why they're not doing it. But a lot of people are wondering, why won't they claim this as exclusive? We already know Indiana Jones is exclusive. Why aren't they saying this is exclusive? Dave, what do you have a theory? Because I think we'll be on the same page.
I think it is exclusive.
Okay.
And I don't know what your theory is. My theory is, and I might offend you when I say this, is that Blade as an IP is not as expensive as Spider-Man.
I don't think it has anything to do with it, but continue.
And everybody's like, oh, it's Marvel IPs are too expensive. This has to be multi-platform. But I honestly think that we're going to see something from Phil Spencer shortly. Like he's going to not talk about exclusives in general because it's not exclusive because you can play it on cloud, PC, and console.
Okay. Oh yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, he's gonna like find a new way to basically how PlayStation says console exclusive. Right. So my theory is this game is barely in development. It's just a
it's not.
idea.
Yes, 2027, 2028 at the earliest.
So why the fuck even say a platform at that point?
Yeah.
I think that's ultimately what it is. To where like it's gonna be Phil Spencer during the trial, when asked about Elder Scrolls, what platforms they'll release on, and he was just like, I can't answer that because I don't know what platforms will exist when this comes out. And I think we're getting that same idea with Blade. Blade will be console exclusive, but we will only find out what that console is closer to the game's release.
I also feel like this might be one of the first games that starts to bend Game Pass. And what I mean by that is that it might not be at Game Pass at launch.
No, I think they're completely bought into.
Yeah, I think
it
might be. I think eventually, like by then, and they might be like, hey, we want to make sure that everybody gets the right opportunity, and it'll be on Game Pass, but it won't be on Game Pass for like 90 days. Like
no, I think they're fully bought into Game Pass, but it would be interesting for them to make that break. But I think they would lose.
I agree.
A lot of people.
I agree, but at the same time, that I don't know, at the cost though of like the mantra is that Xbox players don't buy games.
Yeah. So. And by 2026, that is going to be even more so true.
Right.
So I think at that point, it's just the Game Pass thing. Especially, you would hope at that point they would have signed a deal with a Samsung or an LG.
Yeah.
To where it's just like, hey, Game Pass, the Blade thing is on your TV.
If Game Pass is in its current state and it's not on a Roku, it's not on a Google TV or any of that stuff, then I could see Microsoft having to do some type of pivoting in the next couple of years to generate some game sales revenue. If it is on multiple things, like to where you can just I can just boot it right up on anything and play it, and it runs just as well as it would, then I think that's a different thing. But I don't see any world currently as we stand of where you're going to play this game on a PlayStation.
Yeah, I don't see that either. I think you're gonna get Game Pass day one because that's just Xbox's mantra.
I'm like
But yeah,
90% that you're going to get a Game Pass day one. 10% you're not. That's all.
yeah, I don't see because Microsoft would have no reason to do this. Like,
Mhm.
all right, Blade already is a small enough franchise that I
Right.
don't think it's gonna like break.
And that's kind of was my point too. Of everybody's like, oh, you can't afford to put it. The Game Pass check has to be huge to Marvel. No, it doesn't, because Blade it doesn't cost as much as Spider-Man. Blade doesn't
And
cost as
also,
much as, you know,
yeah,
Star Wars.
yeah, and also it's one of those things where Disney already made their money by
Right.
signing this deal with Xbox. Like
Right.
Disney's not like, oh, we got to get that money on the back half. Like they're still going to get a cut of all the sales, but a majority of their money they've earned from Blade has already been made
Yeah.
when Microsoft signed this deal with them. So that and that's why Disney signed all those crazy ass Marvel deals recently. You know, like Amy Hennig's got a Marvel game. You know, EA's got 2 or 3 Marvel games going, and Disney's like, I don't give a shit if they don't come out because we already got paid when we
Right.
signed the deal with them.
But
And if the
I
games
don't
come out, we
I don't
make
see
more
any
money.
world that an Xbox studio game developed by Xbox, published by Xbox is on PlayStation. I don't.
Outside of Minecraft.
Yeah. I started looking into that, and that might have been in the purchase contract stuff with Mojang, because Mojang is still classified as the publisher, not even Xbox.
Yeah, but again, Mojang
I understand that Mojang's
has
owned by
the
Xbox, but like
yeah.
when you look up other, I think if you look up
They got the
Starfield, it's
Destiny deal.
yeah. But if you look up Starfield, I think Starfield says published by Microsoft. But if you
Yeah,
look up
but what I'm saying
Minecraft,
is
right? I know what you're.
yeah, they got
The
the Bungie
creative
deal.
control. Yeah.
So as long as it's financially feasible, they won't have to interfere with Mojang.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Blade will be Xbox exclusive, and people will then say they didn't want to play a Blade game anyways because it's not coming to their platform. But they're still pissed it didn't come to their platform, so it's going to be like, which one is it? Next thing we got is we got a No Man's Sky developers, Hello Games new game, Light No Fire, a procedurally generated world that's like the size of Earth, with RPG and multiplayer elements. Man, I thought this was No Man's Sky next content update, and then when it was like, no, this is a new game, and they made promises, I'm like, here we go again.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you. So as soon as you write Hello Games and multiplayer elements, is there a part of you that's like, huh? At launch?
Let's see what. Yeah, exactly. Like, let's see where this goes. Oh, but it definitely seems like it is like a smaller project, despite being like.
Well, so did No Man's Sky.
No, No Man's Sky was promising you literally infinite universes. So
And we never got it.
we did get it. Like they did deliver infinite
years later.
universes. No, Dave.
Yeah.
You didn't play No Man's Sky. The infinite universes were there day one. What wasn't there is all this shit about like you might run into your friends eventually. Like the multiplayer
Yeah.
aspects was not there. But like, so the idea that there's like, we're just going to focus on one planet means the goalposts have been like moved a little bit in their favor. So it's just a matter of like, are they going to actually deliver on their promises? Hopefully it being like a smaller project, yet a bigger project. Watch the trailer. You both see like, okay, this is smaller, but also at the same time bigger. Sort of thing. We'll see what they do. But they brought Sean Murray out on stage to talk about it for like 2 minutes. Good on him coming back into the limelight after all the shit he got for the No Man's Sky stuff of being like on the Colbert Show, the Fallon Show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, basically kind of lying indirectly about his game to come out again. But No Man's Sky, like that game was completely rehabilitated. Like they put out an update for it, I think earlier this year. That was pretty big.
Yeah.
So I think they have enough goodwill that like people are going to give them a shot at launch for this game.
Yeah.
And it's
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah.
Like, not saying that No Man's Sky has fooled people. It turned out to be a fantastic game, VR mode
later.
and everything like that.
Yeah.
But what they were saying and what came in the box were very different.
Yeah. Remember when they were like, it's infinite universes, and people are like, oh shit, and then they use that as a reason why you couldn't find your friends? Like, yeah, I mean, you try and find your friend across the galaxy, and it's like, I guess you have a point. And then someone on Twitch broke it by they discovered the same planet, and then they try to meet up, and it was like, nope, we don't exist in the same planet. But yeah, the last 2 things is the finals got shadow drop. That was our big shadow drop of the day, and it sounds like it's doing really well. People are super excited by
Mm-hmm.
it. I downloaded it, haven't really had a chance to really dive into
What
it.
is it? I mean, I've seen it. I haven't watched it. Is this like another like hero shooter, like Overwatch style thing?
Uh, team based, like tactical, like not necessarily hero style,
Okay.
but it has like a game show theme with it as well. It's
Okay.
looks interesting enough. I'd be interested to see you give it a
I
shot.
will. I know Johnny as a boy is playing it, and he's raving about it, so I'll have to
Yeah.
download it. So
And then the show
it's free to
ended,
play, right?
or yeah, free to play.
Okay.
The show's last trailer was a big one. Monster Hunter Wilds for 2025. Another Monster Hunter World game, or like an actual sequel to Monster Hunter World, technically, kind of, if you
Mm-hmm.
want to look at it that way, because the Switch games are kind of like their own
Yeah.
thing. This looked fantastic. 2025 is kind of a bummer, but I'm so excited for Wilds, and I hope they learned from all the criticisms from Worlds, because
Mm-hmm.
World was a damn near perfect game
Yeah.
except for some of the loops you had to jump through.
Worlds almost had me, like
Yeah,
for
it had you for
like
a
couple
couple
months.
dozen hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it broke. Like, and I don't really it like, and I think some of what broke for me, and I'm a little bit more accepting of it now if I've seen some of it, but some of the weird like um Japaneseness of the game, or
Yeah.
but then the crossovers, like some of that stuff,
Yeah.
like that kind of got a little excessive. I like, and but the way I play games now is different than even, because like we're talking about 5 years now.
Yeah.
So the way I function and absorb games and play games is a little differently now, and trying to to really balance out how much dedication and time I give to one service style or multiple service style games. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm if they can work out the weird little co-op stuff
hmm
that kind of got in the way of itself, that would be fantastic. Similar to you, like I beat the game and I started like the kind of new game plus aspect of it in terms of like the new gear plus you can do,
hmm
and then I kind of just fell off as friends started to fall off that game.
yeah.
But for a good like 50 hours, I was
hmm
all in on that game. It wasn't until they're like, hey, here's the next tier of equipment that you can get, and it was just kind of like, it's the same equipment, just slightly altered, and it was like it's the same content you just played but
Yeah.
slightly altered. That's when I kind of fell off. But I definitely got my $60 worth out of that,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
50
For sure.
hours I played. So I'm just interested to see what they end up doing, changing, and how they evolved. Just as Capcom showed, like with Street Fighter, like they can make some drastic
Yep.
changes to like how the multiplayer works. But yeah, that was the Game Awards. Keeley do better, but it was pretty good, I guess, in terms of if you're just looking at announcements.
Do more
Nothing
with
crazy.
do more with less, Keely.
Yes, if you can. No Muppets. Like I have a feeling Keeley just really likes the Muppets,
hmm
and he
He needs
doesn't
to
care.
remove his person. It's to the point now where he needs to remove his Keeliness from it and
Yeah.
make it a show.
Yeah, it's like I know Kojima's one of your best friends, but that does not mean he needs 10 minutes every year.
hmm
Like I understand
He's earned
that
enough
you were,
credibility.
yeah,
Keely's earned enough credibility in the gaming industry now where it needs to, and I guess it needs to not be about him.
Yeah.
And it needs to be about them, the developers and the awards, with
you
some
killed ESA.
with
You
some
killed
trailers.
E3, you
yeah,
won.
with some trailers sprinkled in there. Like
Mhm.
so.
But yeah,
All right.
that's the news.
Yeah, so it's December, so thankfully nothing has been delayed. What we're playing and watching will be super short, just because the show is actually a little longer than usual. I got a new Nintendo Switch controller delivered today. It was on Amazon Deal of the Day this week. It's a CRKD cracked controller. I'm actually really impressed with it. It looks like I got the one that looks just like the GameCube, like the purple. So that's Owen already hates it. So.
As he should.
So we'll definitely be looking into be talking about that a little bit more next week. Like Michael mentioned earlier, Lego Fortnite
Back
is
in my day, our controllers were shit.
yeah. Lego Fortnite is fascinating to me. Fortnite in general as an app, not as a game, but as an app is fascinating. We re-downloaded it when Lego Fortnite came out, and or Fortnite Lego, whatever the hell it's called. And when you open up the Fortnite thing on PlayStation, there's like it looks like Disney Plus. There's like all these blocks for you to click on,
Yeah,
whether it's battle royale or zero build or Lego or regular Fortnite or now Rocket Racing, which looks really cool and I haven't played yet.
which
um,
is getting compared to Onrush a lot. Which
okay,
Onrush was like a pretty cool racing game that
yeah.
live games as a service failed its as a concept.
I actually talked to Josh Langford this week because of Lego Fortnite because I texted him about
Ah,
it and he's like, "What?" And I kind of showed him some pictures of it and he goes, "Holy crap!" And I was like, and then the fact of like the seamlessness that I know that everybody's already known before about, but like Owen has been able to go from his phone to the Switch to the PlayStation
yeah.
with and seamlessly. Like we didn't really have very much Epic stuff. Now he's playing Fortnite again, and I'm like, ugh. But I don't care. He's having fun. Um, so that was super interesting. A little bit more Mario RPG, but like I said, I'll talk about that a little bit more with the new controller thing I got for the Switch. There are pictures of that on Discord, and I think I paid like $50 for it, and I'm just impressed with everything that came with it, like the cable and
Mhm.
the case and the like I just thought I was getting a controller for $50, and there's
And
a
then
lot.
it's promising no drift.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
The weird thing about it though is that you have to do it as a wired Joy-Con or wired Pro controller. Like you have to turn that setting on,
Yeah.
and then when you put the Joy-Cons back on, it doesn't recognize them until you go back and turn it off. So that's a little irritating, but hopefully it makes it easier for me to play the Switch in handheld mode, which I usually don't enjoy doing, just because the Joy-Cons are tiny. So,
Yeah, even I have problems with
yeah.
that.
It's got
Like with
customizable buttons too. It's got 4 buttons on the back that you can customize on the like as paddles. So, not that
still
Switch
have yet
games
to
need
meet.
that.
Yeah, I've seriously never met a human that actually needed the paddles, but
Yeah.
people like that they're an option. So
But
I'm
it's got
glad
the,
they're there.
the thing I'm actually the most excited about. It's actually got a kickstand with friction.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, pretty. I'm getting ready to go on vacation, so I'll have some. I'm getting ready to be off work on vacation at home, so I'll definitely have some more time to do some stuff. There is something that I want to do in Destiny that I have never done that I think I might stream, but there's a new
Have
dungeon out.
fun.
There's a new dungeon out, and I think I might actually try to solo it. It's a 3-player activity. I might try to do it by myself. So maybe I'll stream that pain for a little while. We'll see how that
Okay.
goes. So
Yeah.
all right. What about you? I know you said pretty much
Man,
nothing, right?
nothing. I downloaded the finals, touched it for like maybe like 10-15 minutes, and then was like, I got to do something else. I did replace parts on my PC, or a part on my PC. Hopefully, I mean, Discord hasn't broke since.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, work has been crazy. They just kind of had too many projects for like the worst time of year. So anytime I've come home from work, I've just kind of sat there dead. And then I wasted 4 hours watching the Game Awards when I should have been doing something else instead of watching the Game Awards. But for the most part, it's just been more overcooked with Sarah. We beat the first game. We're about a quarter way through the second game, trying to get that platinum. Um, that's pretty much it. I did get a bunch of new games in from when I ordered Black Friday that I got in, so just adding more stuff to the backlog. But yeah, like I completely dropped off of Assassin's Creed Mirage, and then I gotta get back into Armored Core. So I gotta do some game stuff before the end of the year. So hopefully I do have some time lined up. Not as much as Dave, but I do have some time sprinkled over the next 2 weeks. So
I'm gonna be off. I'm gonna be off work for 10 days in December. It's never happened, and I don't know what to do.
yeah, not including like normal weekends. I have like 5
Yeah.
days off.
I'm off like on the 16th. We're going to go see Gabriel Iglesias this weekend.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Whatever. In Canada,
No,
actually.
because he's the
We're
one
going to
that's
Windsor. So.
that people have been doing videos of. He can't sing.
Oh,
Oh
I
no,
don't
it's
know.
Enrique.
Yeah.
Enrique Iglesias.
No, this
Are you
is
saying
Fluffy.
Gabriel?
So
Oh,
the
okay. I
comedian,
thought you said Enrique
Gabriel
Iglesias.
Iglesias.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay, never mind. You're
Yeah.
just gonna see that guy who's.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. He's in Windsor, which is like 20 minutes 20 minutes from Detroit in Canada. Angela and I have really never been to like a comedic show, like a stand-up show, like in person.
It's a safe one to go to.
Yeah. So it'd be a night out for us, and then I'll be off through the holiday after that. So like Saturday the 16th all the way. I don't go back to work until like the day after Christmas. So, but yeah. So real quick, we do have a question from Answer in Machine. What are your favorite Christmas holiday gaming memories? He asked this question using hashtag AskDigitalDays. Do you want to go first?
I would say I don't have like a specific memory, but like the PS PS1, PS2 era were probably like my like getting a video game during Christmas time. So that would be, getting like a Sly Cooper or a Tony Hawk game during the holidays. I've never gotten like a full console for Christmas though. Usually I would get those either for birthday or like I banked some really good report cards to get a console, or just my brother would get a console and then I would just
Mm-hmm.
casually get games for it. But yeah, just doing like random video game stuff. Like the last couple Christmases, we've like Mario Party has been
Mm-hmm.
busted out like every Christmas, just because that's an easy game everyone can get involved in. So usually when we go to like Sarah's family's Christmas, I usually take the Switch and like whatever Joy Cons I have, throw them in
Right.
a bag, because eventually, because her family's Christmases go to like 2 a.m. on Christmas Eve, so it's just like eventually we're gonna need the Switch
Mhm.
or something. So definitely like playing like Nintendo stuff with her family, because my family Christmases tend to be a little shorter. So it's usually like dinner, talking, and then everyone gets out. So yeah, video game playing would be like recent stuff with the Mario Party, and then growing up, it was like just whatever PS1, PS2 game that I was dying for. I would usually have to wait till Christmas to get.
Yeah, I mean the most recent one, like getting a PS3 when it came, like roughly when it came out for Christmas, after I had been like in the kind of the Nintendo world for a while. Like the main reason we got a PS3 back in the day was like for a Blu-ray player. Then the PSN outage happened, and then we got the free games, and I started like getting introduced into, third-person action, Uncharted style games and Infamous, and that kind of like sparked a bunch of stuff. And then going all the way back to being like a younger kid, we didn't even get the console. It was like when Super Nintendo came out. My brother's best friend who lived on the street got it, and he knew, like, I feel like he opened his mom's trunk like 3 or 4 days before Christmas and saw it, and he wasn't supposed to see it. And so my brother and him, his name was Phil, they went to Blockbuster the night before and rented games um, to
I didn't
play.
kids would be named Phil,
Philip,
but
yeah.
they have to
Yeah.
exist in order to become an adult named Phil.
So I just remember we knew that he was getting that, and it was more or less like the games were at our house, and he didn't come to our house until like after dinner on Christmas, like at 7 or
I
8
thought you
o'clock at
guys
night.
ruined it for him and showed up to the house before he got
No,
the
no,
gift with the
he
Nintendo
brought the
games on
system.
hand.
He brought the system to our
Okay.
house, and I have memories of like playing Street Fighter 3 Turbo or Street Fighter against him and my brother and stuff, and Ultraman when it came out, and Super Mario and all this stuff. So. But yeah, that's the biggest, they went there on Christmas Eve and rented the games, and they were sitting on my mom's like, "What is that for?" And my brother's like, "Don't worry." My brother's 10 years older than me, so he's like, "Don't worry about it." Like, and then Phil comes over and my mom sees the stuff, and she's like, "Huh?" And then it's just one of those things. So
Nice.
all right, so that is our show for this week. You can check us out on the socials, on Twitter, at Digital Days Pod. Michael's is at The First MJC. Mine is at Good Dave Hunt. Facebook group, Discord server, Patreon are all linked in the show notes, or in these show notes, as well as on digitaldaysgaming.com. So again, thank you guys all for hanging out, listening, watching, subscribing, reviewing, all that stuff. We will be back next week, and that will be our last show of 2023. We'll talk a little bit more about that next week. So, and kind of give you guys an idea of what the rest of the end of the year will look like, and the beginning of 2024 will look like. So, I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya. All right.
All right, those of you guys that are watching on Twitch and YouTube, thank you for hanging out. You guys have a great night.